Hey there, in this video I'll be going over the sort of reply management flow that we use over at RepGrowth that helps us sort of manage thousands of replies every single week. I'll be going over every single step, breaking it down and sort of explaining why we did specific things, and then as well I'll be adding the code to download this for yourself in the description so you can easily take this and sort of make it work for yourself. A few disclaimers before we start. The tools that we use are Email Bison, Slack, of course, and then Airtable as well to just store client data. So that's kind of the big pieces. But again, a lot of this is interchangeable, especially the sequencer. It just means different API runs, but the logic stays the same. So the way we have this set up at the moment is the entire flow kicks off from a sub workflow, or sorry, from a main workflow that triggers this sub workflow. So realistically, all we have is a quick webhook in Email Bison that just says, hey, a new contact replied, trigger the webhook, send the data over here. And then the reason we have it broken up into two workflows at the moment is because we get the initial webhook saying, hey, somebody replied. We run the sub workflow, and then once this is done, we say something back into that main workflow to run custom automations for client specific things. So, or any custom workflows that we might have built, adding those people into specific Hey Reach campaigns, anything like that. That's what we want to do. But regardless, this could be replaced with a very simple, just webhook trigger. And then same thing, just make sure that the new contact replied, goes towards this, and then just split it there. So yeah, so that would work. And then what we do here is we look for the client in our client workspace, just making sure that the workspace name matches the company name, and it will, because we have automations on the onboarding side of things that make sure they match. Really, the biggest piece of this entire video is this next part right here. So this AI agent. So we have this broken up into two pieces. So I'll actually start with the system prompt because it's sort of the main logic behind the entire workflow and how we help it or sort of help it make deductions as we move forward. So biggest things here are that we have a few outline categories. So meeting request, information request, future, referral, out of office, automated reply, not interested, no longer works here, unsubscribed, unclassified. So this, in my opinion, covers every single scenario when somebody replies to a cold email. There are other tags to be added, let's say meeting booked, but people won't book a meeting off the first reply, right? So to cover the initial first reply in, this covers everything. And then sort of the things that we're doing in here is a quick description, what that might mean, some examples, but then we get into that's just the main, or sort of the allowed categories and context of what a meeting request might look like. And then this is the part right here, if I'm not mistaken. Right here. Okay, so these are sort of the examples, and as time goes on, we're actually adding to this just to make it more and more accurate, and also give it a little bit more context. So it's if somebody says anything around let's book a call, we want it to go meeting request, circle back to next quarter, future. One of the more interesting ones is referral. So the way that this flow is currently set up, it does sometimes mix up, it does sometimes mix up out of office and referrals, just because sometimes an out of office reply is a referral opportunity. It's refer me to the right person, or a lot of the times people will reply and say, hey, I'm out of the office, or let's see, I'm out of the office, contact this person instead, then it'll give you a referral tag, and then automated reply, very normal, not interested. Very clear language of no thanks, remove me, no thank you, I'm no longer here, we want no longer works here to be inputted. But then another thing with the referral one, right? So it's if somebody's sort of templated email goes out as I'm no longer with the company, please contact X person, it'll give us a referral tag for that. So something to keep in mind if you want to sort of make sure that doesn't happen. And then unclassified is just when AI isn't too sure what to give you, I would rather get a notification of it's a little bit unclear, please do this manually, versus it sort of first being ignored, which is sort of the way that it was previously done. Like if it was untaggable, we just didn't tag anything. And then as well, just like, and I'll go over this in a little bit, but we actually send more notifications now than before. But I think it pays off because a lot of these neutral replies are almost positive or they're convertible. When in the past, if they weren't like directly positive or very, very clearly positive, we were kind of just ignoring those. Yeah, so that's the system prompt. It's really just context is what we're really doing it for. And then the actual prompt is, hey, here's the subject line, here's the body. Determine one of these categories. Ignore signatures because we don't want somebody to be tagged as like meeting a request if there's a Calendly link in their signature. So we want it to ignore that. Let me see. Edge cases, output rules, and then the format. We just want it to output just the category. Like we don't really care about reasoning or anything. And then to do this, we are using, I believe, 4.1 mini. Yeah, so we're using 4.1 mini and we output it in JSON. So that's the way that works. And then here, the edit field is just that category, but we just cleaned it up just to make sure. And then in this first sort of phase, what we're doing is we're checking if that tag was already created. So one of the things that you might be doing when you're onboarding a new client is creating all of the reply management tags, maybe manually, maybe via API, up to you. But the issue sort of comes up when, let's say you wanted to add more categories into this, like there were specific ones that are coming up more often, or you have custom ones, like for specific types of assets that you're sending, you want it to trigger something different. Like it's a little bit of a pain to sort of go through each client and add a new tag. So instead I built this custom tag and creation process. So first we check, is it valid? If it is, cool, continue. If it isn't, we'll get a notification saying, hey, like check this out, something weird happened. First we go into Email Bison and we just check, hey, does this already exist? If it does, cool. Go ahead and get the leads info so we can actually go tag it. But if it doesn't, create it. So that's kind of the biggest plus of this entire workflow is that it won't break because a tag doesn't exist. It'll create it, or if it's already created, it'll just skip that step and move ahead into the tagging leads flow. So here, as I said, if we don't have it, we'll create the tag. If we do, we just get the lead data, find that tag, make sure that lead hasn't already been tagged with that tag. And then if it hasn't, it'll continue. If it has, like if let's say it's a reply in the same thread, then we won't sort of re-tag it and also re-trigger the notification, which is happening later in this. But yeah, so if that in this part has already been, like if the lead's already been tagged, then it stops. If it hasn't been tagged, we move on to this if node here. So separate flow for tagging the Email Bison. If the lead is unsubscribed, we want it to also blacklist the lead just so we never email them again. So we do that. But then regardless, we want to tag that lead as whatever the tag was for that lead, right? So as you can see, attached to lead, and then it's that tag ID that we pulled right here. So that's what we're doing. And then here, a couple of things happen after we tag it. So if there's an error, of course, like we want to get notified in Slack of why that error happened or at what step as well. This is sort of the notification side of things. So first off, we naturally, if it's an interested reply, so if it's a meeting request or information request, we want to mark that lead as interested, and then we want to send back to that first flow that I was mentioning, hey, this was an interested reply. So we can sort of initiate our other automations. If the lead is neutral, this is where we sort of give more context to clients. So if the lead is, or neutral plus positive is actually a better term for this, but I'll leave it like this for now. So if it's meeting request, information request, future referral, or unclassified, we wanted to notify the client. And then here we have a sort of a simple message where, you know what, I'll just show up an example. This is the code of what it looks like, but I'll show an example of what it actually looks like in Slack. All right, so this is what it looks like. So you can see one example right here. It's like you've got a new referral lead, and it'll sort of let you know about that. But this is sort of what like an interested reply would look like. You get sort of the client details, what campaign, what's the category, and then sort of the more valuable part is just getting the context of that actual reply. Like what you could do is put it in this first message, but instead what we do is thread it so it doesn't take up all of our Slack channel, just to sort of say that Ryan here said yes, so that's kind of the objective here. But yeah, back to the end-to-end flow. Like here, so this is what the code of the first message looks like. And then what we do is then send the reply or like the text as a thread to that original message, as I showed 2 seconds ago. And then we just, in this case, we just want to, again, or to be fair, this is what we initially did for when we didn't have this other flow. But anyways, we just kept it as a sort of a backup measure. But if the replies are any of these, go ahead and continue and trigger this interested response type to our main flow. But yeah, anyways, this is the reply management flow that we use over at RevGrowth. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll be adding this in the like the code, so you can get this for yourself in the YouTube description. All right, I will talk to you soon. Have a good one.